The princess who changed the galaxy. The creature charged with a scream that shook the entire chamber. Its claws glowed red, hot enough to melt steel. Its eyes locked onto Liara with pure hatred. It wanted her gone, erased, forgotten. It wanted her mutation destroyed before the galaxy discovered the truth. But this time, Ethan did not step back. He did not hide. He did not fear. The blue energy swirling around him grew brighter, stronger, pulsing in perfect sync with Liara's trembling light. Ethan felt a rush spread through his veins. Warmth filled his arms, his chest, his legs. As if something ancient was awakening inside him. He had no idea what he was becoming. But he knew he was becoming something the creature feared. The monster slashed forward. Ethan moved faster than any human he had ever known. He blocked the strike with his arm, and instead of being torn apart, his skin flashed with blue energy. The impact sent a shockwave through the chamber. The creature stumbled back in confusion. It had never seen a human do this. Not in thousands of years. Liara gasped. Ethan, your body, it has accepted the star veins. Ethan didn't understand the details. But he understood one thing. Liara was terrified. And he wasn't going to let fear take her life. The creature roared and lunged again. This time at Liara. Ethan didn't think. He threw himself in front of her, raising both hands. A barrier of blue light erupted outward, forming a dome around them. The creature slammed into it, claws screeching across the surface, unable to break through. Liara watched Ethan with wide, tear-filled eyes. You're protecting me, with my own power. Ethan swallowed, breathing heavily. I'm protecting you with our power. The dome pulsed brighter, pushing the creature back with each beat. Liara placed her hand against Ethan's chest. Her touch softened the wild, chaotic energy inside him. For a moment, everything felt calm. You're not just stabilizing me, she whispered. You're completing me. Behind them, the crystal pillars resonated with a deep hum. The conduit recognized the bond between them. The bond of a stabilizer and a star vein bearer. A bond the galaxy thought was impossible. Illegal. Extinct. But here it was, alive again. And growing stronger. The creature let out one final scream and charged for the last time. Glass shattered, sparks flew, the ground shook with the force of its movement. Ethan lowered the dome and stepped forward alone. Liara reached out as if to stop him. Ethan. But he shook his head gently. If it wants you, it has to go through me. He clenched his fists, blue flames crackling around them like living lightning. The creature swung its claws. Ethan dodged and struck its chest with a punch that felt like hitting a living furnace. But the blue energy exploded outward, sending the creature crashing into the far wall. It tried to stand again. But Ethan didn't give it a chance. He grabbed the creature by its arm and slammed it into the floor. Blue light crawled across the creature's armor, breaking it apart like fragile ice. The creature screeched one last time before dissolving into a burst of dark particles. Ethan staggered, exhausted. But the conduit's light held him up, supporting him like unseen hands. Liara rushed to him. Her arms wrapped around him tightly. She was shaking, breathless, but alive. You did it, she whispered. You saved me. Ethan smiled weakly. We did it. The chamber began to brighten. The star veins inside Liara responded to Ethan's presence, forming a soft halo around her. For the first time in her life, she wasn't afraid of her mutation. She embraced it. She embraced him. Suddenly, the chamber doors opened. Dozens of guards, council members, and royal commanders rushed inside. They froze when they saw the destroyed walls, the glowing pillars, the fading ashes of the creature. And Ethan standing beside Liara, connected to her by a visible thread of blue energy. Gasps filled the room. Whispers began. Fear rose in their eyes. Not fear of Liara, but fear of the human beside her. The ancient threat. The forgotten legend. The stabilizer. A commander stepped forward. This human must be contained. He is dangerous. He should not exist. Liara stepped in front of Ethan instantly, her voice sharp. If anyone touches him, she warned, I will unleash the star veins on this entire hall. Silence fell like a hammer. No one dared move. The council stared at her with shock and disbelief. She held Ethan's hand tightly and spoke with a strength she never showed before. He is not a threat. He is the reason I am alive. He is the reason this empire still has an heir. And he is the one I choose. The hall erupted in confused murmurs, some protested, others bowed, unsure how to respond. The ancient prophecy awakened before their eyes. A human and a princess, standing together. A bond stronger than fear, older than empires. A bond that could change the galaxy forever. Ethan squeezed Liara's hand gently. You sure about this? Liara smiled with quiet certainty. Ethan, the night I entered your room, I didn't just seek safety. I sought you. The blue light around them deepened. Warm, calm, certain. A new era had begun. An era where humans were no longer lost. Where the Varelian Empire no longer ruled alone. Where two hearts, one human and one alien, rewrote the laws of power itself. And when the night fell again. Long after the battles were over. Liara entered Ethan's chamber once more. Her voice soft, familiar, and filled with meaning. Human, may I sleep beside you tonight? This time, Ethan didn't hesitate. He opened his arms. Smiled. And whispered. Always. The galaxy watched from afar. Afraid, awed, and forever changed by the bond formed in the dark. Simple English, third person, suspenseful, comma at end of every sentence. The grand hall of the Celestian Empire was silent, even though thousands of alien leaders stood inside it. Silver banners hung from the ceiling, glowing softly in the cold blue light that illuminated the throne stage. Every breath felt heavy, as if the air itself waited for something terrible to happen. Emperor Varkan, ruler of 1,000 worlds, stepped forward. His tall armored body cast a long shadow across the polished crystal floor. His deep voice echoed through the chamber as he spoke. My daughter, Princess Liara, must be married before the next moon cycle. A wave of fear moved through the crowd. Some aliens lowered their heads, some stepped back, and others whispered nervously. Everyone knew the reason why the Emperor looked so serious today. The princess was cursed. Or at least that was what the galaxy believed. Stories whispered through star systems claimed that any man who tried to marry her suffered a terrible fate. Some said the curse came from an ancient prophecy. Others said she carried a dangerous power in her blood. But no one truly knew the truth. What they knew was simple, no one wanted to die. And marrying her seemed like death. The Emperor raised his hand. Who among you will accept this honor? He asked, his voice controlled but heavy with disappointment. No one answered. Not even the bravest warriors from the strongest species. Even the mighty Kroth generals stepped back. The shadowy Velen nobles covered their faces. And the scaled Dravic commanders shook their heads silently. The silence grew more painful with every passing second. A princess stood unwanted. And an empire stood ashamed. Princess Liara watched from behind her veil. Her silver eyes were cold and emotionless. She had expected this. She had known no one would come forward. She had lived her whole life alone because of fear. Fear created by stories she never asked for. The Emperor tried again, louder this time. Is there no one brave enough to marry my daughter? Still nothing. Not a sound. Not a step. Then, a voice echoed from the back of the hall. I will. Every head turned at once. The hall that had been silent suddenly felt alive with shock. An audible gasp spread through the room like a wave. A single human man stepped forward. A young soldier from Earth wearing simple combat armor. His name was Ethan Cole. He was not the tallest, not the strongest, not the richest. But the determination in his eyes was unlike anything in the hall. The alien stared at him in disbelief. Humans were seen as weak, unpredictable, and fragile. The idea that a human would volunteer for something no alien dared to face felt insane. The Emperor narrowed his eyes. "You," he said slowly, "repeat your words." Ethan stepped closer, his boots echoing on the crystal floor. "I said I will marry your daughter," he repeated calmly. A hurricane of whispers exploded around the chamber. "Is he suicidal? Humans truly are mad. He will not survive the trials. This is an insult to the Empire." But Ethan did not look at them. He looked straight at the Emperor. His voice steady, his body unshaken. He had faced death before. Fear did not control him anymore. Princess Liara stepped forward. Her silver eyes met Ethan's brown ones for the first time. What she saw confused her. There was no fear in him. No hesitation. No trembling. Only calm courage. She whispered to her father. "He is human." The Emperor nodded. "And yet he is the only one brave enough to stand here." Liara felt a strange feeling in her chest. She had spent years believing no one would ever stand for her. Yet this human, someone her people considered weak, had stepped forward without being asked twice. The Emperor looked at Ethan. "Do you understand the risks?" he asked. "You may not survive the trials, and you may die before the wedding even begins." Ethan nodded. "I understand," he replied, "but I am still stepping forward." The hall fell silent again. But it was no longer the silence of fear. It was the silence before something impossible begins. The Emperor slowly raised his hand. "Then let the trials of worthiness begin," he declared. Gasps filled the hall. The trials had killed warriors far stronger than Ethan. But the human did not look afraid. He simply nodded as if this was exactly what he came for. In that moment, the galaxy witnessed something it had never seen before. A human stepping forward when every alien stepped back. A human choosing a path others feared. A human rewriting destiny with a single step. And Princess Liara, who had never believed in courage, felt her heart move for the first time. This was only the beginning. Dawn broke over the Celestian Empire, flooding the sky with soft purple light. Ethan Cole stood at the entrance of the trial arena, his hands steady, his breath controlled. Warriors from 100 species filled the stadium seats, their eyes locked on the lone human. Most came only to watch him fail. Some came to laugh. A few came to see how long he would survive. But Princess Liara stood at the highest balcony, hidden behind a silver screen. Her eyes watched Ethan carefully. She was trying to understand something she felt but could not explain yet. The instructor stepped forward. His metallic body shone in the morning light. He raised a long silver staff, and the arena fell silent. "Trial 1, he announced. "The trial of fear." A hush fell over the crowd. Even the bravest aliens shifted uncomfortably. Everyone knew this trial well. And everyone feared it. Ethan stepped inside the circular arena. The ground beneath him was covered in smooth black sand. Strange glowing symbols appeared around the edges, rising slowly until they formed a dome of light. The instructor nodded. "Begin." The lights dimmed. The wind stilled. And the air changed. It felt heavier, colder. As if something ancient had just woken up. The first illusion rose from the ground. A massive beast made of black smoke and twisting shadows. Its eyes glowed red. Its teeth long and sharp. Its roar shook the ground. The crowd flinched. Some aliens covered their ears. The beast towered over Ethan, bigger than any creature a human had ever seen. But Ethan didn't move. He didn't panic. He didn't scream. He simply watched the creature. Calm, steady, focused. Liara leaned forward in surprise. No alien in history had ever stayed calm at the sight of the first illusion. Fear always controlled them instantly. But this human didn't react like others. The shadow beast lunged. Its claws swept toward Ethan with terrifying speed. The crowd shouted in horror. But Ethan stepped to the side just in time. The claws sliced the air where he had been standing. He didn't fight back. He didn't waste energy. He only moved enough to avoid the attacks. The instructor whispered to himself. Impossible, humans should be the most vulnerable to fear illusions. The beast attacked again, and again Ethan dodged. But his eyes stayed calm, almost thoughtful. As if studying the monster instead of fearing it. Then Ethan said quietly. You're not real. The beast froze. The shadows flickered for a moment. Many aliens gasped. No one had ever spoken those words inside the trial. Not without breaking apart mentally. Ethan continued. Your fear, he said, not danger. The beast roared louder than before. Its body doubled in size. Its teeth grew longer. The illusions always grew stronger when challenged. But Ethan didn't break. He didn't tremble. Instead, he closed his eyes for one single second. He remembered the battlefield he once fought on Earth. Real monsters, real fires, real losses. Real fear. And he whispered. I have faced worse. When he opened his eyes, the beast charged again. But this time, Ethan stepped forward instead of backward. He walked directly into the monster's shadowy mouth. The crowd screamed. Liara stood quickly, her heart racing. But Ethan pushed through the illusion with pure will. And when he walked out the other side, the beast shattered into black smoke, disappearing from the arena. Silence fell. Deep silence. No one had ever destroyed the illusion this way. The instructor stared at him, astonished. How? He whispered. What are humans? But the trial was not over. 3 more illusions formed. This time, not beasts. But memories. Personal memories. Painful memories. Ethan saw the burning wreckage of a crashed dropship. He saw fallen soldiers. He heard their screams. He felt the guilt. He remembered the loss. The trial tried to break him emotionally. But Ethan didn't fall. He didn't drop to his knees like others before him. He whispered softly. I carry them with me. The illusions intensified. Thunder roared. Flames rose. Voices echoed. The trial tried to crush him under the weight of his own past. But Ethan stood firm. He accepted the pain. He embraced the memory. And the fire of the illusion dimmed. Because one truth remained. Fear loses its power when faced directly. Liara's eyes widened. Her heart beat faster. She had never seen anyone fight the trial of fear like this. Not with strength. Not with power. But with acceptance. With calm. With human resilience. Finally, the dome faded. The illusions vanished. And the instructor lifted his staff. Trial 1, completed, he announced. Ethan Cole of Earth, passes. A wave of shock hit the stadium. No one clapped. No one cheered. Everyone just stared at the human standing alone in the black sand. Breathing steadily. Calm as ever. Liara exhaled. She didn't realize she had been holding her breath. She touched her chest, feeling something strange again. Respect. Curiosity. And a worry she didn't want to feel. Ethan left the arena quietly. But the galaxy would remember this moment forever. Because today, the impossible had happened. A human passed the trial of fear. And it was only the beginning. The next trials would be far worse. And enemies were already planning to stop him. Because a human succeeding was something the galaxy could not allow. But Ethan didn't know that yet. He only knew one thing. He would not stop. Not until he reached the princess. The palace was unusually silent that night. Guards moved quietly through the glowing hallways, their armor shining under the blue lights. The air felt heavy, tense, like something was waiting to happen. Princess Liara stood on her balcony, watching the training grounds below. Her silver eyes followed Ethan as he practiced with the instructors. His movements were slower than alien fighters, but every step showed discipline, focus, and something stronger than brute strength. Something she did not yet understand. Liara whispered to herself. He survived the trial of fear. She still could not believe it. No one had ever passed the trial without collapsing, screaming, or begging to escape. But Ethan walked out calmly, as if he had been ready his whole life. Her father entered the balcony quietly. The Emperor stood beside her, his face unreadable behind his armored mask. You watch the human closely, he said, his tone flat. Liara didn't look away from the training grounds. He is strange, she said softly. The Emperor nodded. Humans often are. He rested his hand on the railing, staring at Ethan. But he may be the only hope we have left. Liara turned sharply. Hope, she repeated. Her father looked at her with heavy eyes. The prophecy, he said, his voice a slow rumble. You know its words. Liara swallowed. Yes, she knew the prophecy. A being from a distant world would save the empire from a shadow rising beneath the stars. But no one ever believed that distant being would be a human. Before she could respond, a sudden explosion shook the west wing of the palace. The ground trembled violently. Liara grabbed the railing to steady herself. Guards rushed into the balcony, shouting. Your Highness! We are under attack. The Emperor's eyes hardened. By who? The guards exchanged worried looks. It's the Zorith Dominion, one said. They have breached the shield wall. Liara's heart dropped. The Zorith were the most ruthless species in the Outer Rim. They had always wanted to overthrow her father and take the throne. And now, they were here, inside the palace. Ethan was still on the training grounds when the emergency siren screamed across the sky. The lights turned red. Gates slammed shut. Guards drew their weapons. And Ethan instantly dropped into a defensive stance. A Celestian captain ran toward him. Human. Get to the safe zone. But Ethan shook his head. Where's the princess? She's safe with the Emperor, the captain said. Your duty is to survive, not fight. Ethan didn't move. His jaw tightened. I'm not leaving her, he said. Before the captain could argue, a blast tore open the training wall. Zorith soldiers stormed inside, their black armor glowing with red markings. Ethan grabbed a fallen guard's plasma staff. The weapon crackled with electricity as he spun it once in his hands. The Zorith charged. And Ethan moved. Fast, precise, determined. He blocked the first strike, then hit the attacker's jaw with the staff's end. Another soldier swung from behind. Ethan ducked and swept his legs under him. The captain stared in shock. You fight like you've done this before. Ethan didn't look back. I have. Meanwhile, inside the palace, Liara ran through the hallways, ignoring her guards' warnings. She didn't want to hide. She needed to see the battlefield. She needed to know if Ethan was safe, even if she refused to admit that reason out loud. She reached the top of the stairs just in time to see the Zorith soldiers breaking through the outer gates. They moved like shadows, fast and deadly. Their leader stepped forward, a tall figure with burning red eyes and clawed hands. General Zareth. The most feared killer of the Dominion. Liara's guards drew their weapons, but Zareth didn't slow down. He pointed toward her. Capture the princess, he ordered. If she falls, the Empire falls. Ethan reached the palace entrance at the same time the Zorith soldiers did. He saw Liara at the top of the stairs, surrounded but not afraid. Their eyes met for half a heartbeat. Then he sprinted forward. Two Zorith soldiers blocked his path. Ethan struck the first with the plasma staff, knocking him out instantly. The second aimed a blaster at him. Ethan grabbed the soldier's arm and twisted hard, forcing him to drop the weapon. Then he used it to shoot down another attacker approaching the princess. Liara stared at him in disbelief. He was fighting for her, again. Without being ordered, without hesitation. As if protecting her was the most natural thing in the galaxy. Zareth stepped forward. A human, he growled. This is the one who passed the trial. His voice was filled with mockery. Ethan didn't react to the insult. He simply raised the plasma staff, ready to fight. Zareth lunged at him with terrifying speed. Their weapons clashed, sparks flying. Ethan slid backward from the force but did not fall. Zareth swung again, aiming for his head. Ethan ducked, rolled, and countered with a strike to the side. But the general barely flinched. Liara shouted. Ethan. He's stronger than he looks, don't let him corner you. Ethan didn't look at her. I won't, he said calmly. He moved again, faster this time. Zareth swung with brute force. Ethan dodged with precision. He used the general's strength against him, striking vital points when openings appeared. The crowd of guards watched in disbelief. A human was holding his ground against a Zorith general. Something no alien soldier had ever done. Zareth snarled. You're just a human, why won't you break? Ethan's eyes hardened. Because humans don't break that easily. He drove the plasma staff forward with all his strength. The strike hit Zareth directly in the chest, sending him crashing backward into a pillar. For the first time, the general looked stunned. He spat blood and glared at Ethan with rage. This is not over, Zareth growled. He signaled retreat, and the Zorith soldiers vanished into the shadows, disappearing as quickly as they came. The palace fell silent again. Guards rushed to secure the area. The Emperor arrived moments later. His eyes scanned the battlefield, then stopped on Ethan. He nodded once. A rare sign of respect. Princess Liara walked down the stairs slowly. Her heart still racing. When she reached Ethan, she whispered. You came for me. Ethan wiped the dust from his face. You were in danger, he said simply. Liara looked away quickly. But the warmth in her cheeks betrayed her for a moment. She wasn't supposed to care. She wasn't supposed to feel anything. But she did. And she didn't know how to stop it. The Emperor spoke. Ethan Cole of Earth, he said. You have passed trial 1, and today, you saved my daughter's life. Ethan lowered his head respectfully. I only did what was right. The Emperor nodded. Tomorrow, he said. You face the final trial. Liara's eyes widened. The final one, she whispered. The Emperor nodded. Yes. The trial no one ever survived. The trial that killed every warrior who attempted it. The trial that decided destiny. The trial of truth. And Ethan would face it at dawn. Alone. The morning sky over the Celestian Empire was dark and silent. Clouds covered the twin suns, making the palace feel colder than usual. Everyone moved quietly through the halls, their minds heavy with fear. Because today was the day of the final trial. The trial that had ended the lives of the strongest warriors in the galaxy. Ethan Cole walked through the corridor with steady steps. His face calm, his breathing controlled. Even though he knew this could be his last sunrise. He didn't allow fear to take root. He had faced death before. He would face it again today. Princess Liara walked beside him, though she kept a short distance. Her eyes kept drifting toward him. She did not understand how a human could walk so calmly toward something that killed every fighter before him. She whispered softly. "You do not have to do this." Ethan answered quietly. "Yes, I do." Liara stopped walking. "Why? You owe us nothing." Her voice trembled just enough for him to notice. Ethan turned to her. His eyes warm, steady, unshaken. "I made a choice," he said. "I stepped forward when no one else did. And I'm not stepping back now." Liara lowered her head. She had never felt so powerless. For the first time in her life, she feared for someone other than herself. She whispered. "I do not want you to die." Ethan's expression softened. "I'm not planning to," he said with a small smile. Liara's heart skipped. She quickly looked away, hiding her reaction. The instructor approached them. "It is time," he said. "Follow me." They walked into a massive circular chamber deep under the palace. The walls were carved with ancient symbols, glowing faintly in the dark. At the center of the floor was a giant silver circle. The arena for the final trial. The trial of truth. The Emperor stood at the far end with high-ranking leaders. All silent, all watching the human who dared to try the impossible. Ethan stepped into the silver circle. The air grew heavy. The ground vibrated. A deep humming sound filled the chamber. The instructor raised his staff. "Trial 3, he declared. The trial of truth." The symbols on the walls brightened. A pillar of white light rose from the center, surrounding Ethan. He felt warmth first. Then pressure. Then something heavier. As if the chamber was reaching into his mind. Into his memories. Into his soul. Liara whispered from the balcony. "This trial shows the truth of your heart. Every fear, every pain, every lie you tell yourself." The light shifted. And suddenly Ethan was standing in the ruins of an old battlefield. Earth soldiers crying for help. Smoke everywhere. Fire raining from the sky. He heard voices he once tried to forget. "Ethan, don't leave us. Help, someone help." He reached for them, but they vanished into smoke. The trial whispered in his mind. "You failed them." Ethan clenched his fists. "No," he said quietly. "I did everything I could." The ground shook again. Another illusion appeared. His old captain. Burned, injured, dying. "Why weren't you fast enough, Ethan? Why weren't you strong enough?" Ethan's jaw tightened. "I wasn't a hero," he said. "I was just a soldier." The trial's voice grew stronger, colder. "You carry guilt. You carry regret. You are weak." Ethan closed his eyes. "No," he said again. "I carry memory. I carry lessons. I carry their hopes. And I will not let those memories break me." The illusions shook, cracks spreading across the fake battlefield. The trial pushed harder. Images of failure, pain, loneliness, loss. All thrown at him like waves crashing against a cliff. But he did not fall. He did not kneel. Liara watched in shock. Most warriors collapsed by now, crying, screaming, begging. But Ethan. Ethan stood like an unbroken pillar. A human facing the weight of his own soul. And refusing to fall. The trial attacked again. This time showing him Liara. Standing alone, surrounded by darkness. Her voice echoing. Why are you trying to save someone like me? No one wants me. Ethan stepped forward into the illusion. His voice steady. That is not true. The darkness trembled. Ethan continued. You are strong. You are brave. And you deserve someone who will stand beside you. Liara, watching from the balcony, widened her eyes. Her throat tightened. She felt something warm rise inside her chest. A feeling she never allowed herself to feel. Hope. The illusions shattered with a sharp sound. The chamber brightened. The trial's voice echoed one last time. Truth acknowledged. The light faded, leaving Ethan standing alone in the circle. Exhausted but unbroken. Breathing hard but standing tall. The instructor stepped forward, his metallic voice shaking for the first time. Ethan Cole of Earth has passed. The chamber erupted into gasps and disbelief. The Emperor closed his eyes briefly, relief washing over him. For the first time in history, someone survived all trials. And it was a human. Liara stepped down the stairs slowly. When she reached Ethan, she placed her hand on his chest. A gesture no Celestian princess had ever done. You did it, she whispered. Her voice soft and trembling. You survived. Ethan smiled weakly. Told you I wasn't planning to die. Liara's eyes glistened. Not with fear. But with something deeper. Something warmer. Something she never expected to feel for a human. The Emperor raised his voice. Ethan Cole, he declared loudly. You have faced fear, truth, and death itself. You have shown courage beyond any warrior in this galaxy. And you have earned the right to marry my daughter. The crowd silenced instantly. Everyone waited. Everyone wondered. Ethan turned to Liara. He didn't kneel. He didn't bow. He simply looked at her with honest, human eyes. Eyes that made her heart stumble. Princess Liara, he said softly. I didn't come here to be a hero. I came because you deserved someone who wasn't afraid to stand beside you. Liara looked up at him. Her voice barely above a whisper. And I choose you. At that moment, something changed in the galaxy. A human and a princess stood together. Not because of a trial. Not because of a prophecy. But because courage met courage. And something new was born between them. Respect. Trust. And something that could grow into love. Ethan Cole, a human from a distant world, had done what no alien warrior ever could. He passed the trials. Saved the Empire. Won the princess's heart. And changed the galaxy forever.